basically in modern cricket, and yet no action. Even Bangladesh has a better record in the period from 2011 to 2014 now, in the same period, than India. Even they have won a test match outside of their country, and we haven't managed that in the last 14 tests. But listen into what Dhoni had to say about all this when the media questioned him after yet another weak performance, and we'll talk about his reaction with our experts. Listen in.
I think we have been improving, and if you compare those two series to the last few that we have played, there's plenty of improvement. So that's what it's all about. You want to keep improving to a stage, where you start converting those good situations or good starts into better starts and start capitalizing on it. So far, you may say we have not really capitalized on the kind of starts we got when it came to our batting department. Over here in the first innings, I thought we got good runs, but we could have still made it slightly more better, if it have contributed a bit more. But overall, if I see the performance, definitely I see improvement in how we have performed, how we have handled the opposition bowlers, and at the same time, the kind of intensity we had when we were bowling, even in situations where there was a good amount of partnership going between two batsmen. Or at times back home, what happens is, if you score a 50, you are in form and you are batting well. But that's not the reality. At time, the batsman who's batting well, he may just score 30 runs and may get out to a very good delivery. So I feel as a batting unit, we have done well. We have shown improvement. If I compare Zach from the first test he played in South Africa to this test match, there's leaps and bounces of improvement. नहीं, मैं ढूंढ रहा हूँ. मैं 2007 से कैप्टन हूँ. कोई आसान सीरीज आज तक मिली नहीं है. इंडियन टीम कहीं भी जाए, वो टफ सिचुएशन हमेशा बना रहता है. दो बड़े टूर हैं, इंग्लैंड और ऑस्ट्रेलिया. बट उसके पहले अभी हम एशिया कप जाएंगे. एशिया कप के बाद T20 वर्ल्ड कप है, फिर IPL होगा, एंड देन विल गेट ब्रेक फ्रॉम द सीजन. आई कंसिडर आवर सीजन एज IPL to IPL. द रीजन you get a break after IPL.
Right, Mahendra Singh Dhoni there saying, Dada, that the team is still learning. We did better here in New Zealand than we did in South Africa. He's praising his batsmen, he's praising his bowlers, and he's saying there are no easy tours for India, as if there are easy tours for any other country. What is Mahendra Singh Dhoni talking about? Is this how a captain should react?
Yeah, you got to understand that he has to come and defend his players in the press conference. He just cannot go berserk in a press conference, because that's not right. I don't agree that India played better in New Zealand than South Africa. At least in the first test in South Africa, India was almost close to winning the test match, and South Africa is a much better team than New Zealand. Their fast bowling attack is a lot better than what New Zealand's is, and those conditions were a lot tougher. So I think they played better in South Africa, and all of us are surprised with the performance in New Zealand. I don't think New Zealand is a side or one-day side to beat India 4-0 or probably 5-0 and not win a test match. I wouldn't go much into the last test, because McCullum and Watling have played a freakish innings, as I said yesterday. These days don't come much in test cricket. But overall, Dhoni has to agree that India's performance overseas is really, really poor. When you out of 14 test matches you've played, if you remember, Shivani and Boria is there. I have watched all those 14 test matches, yes. Once some as commentator and some as headlines today expert. Not once, maybe the only time they did was in South Africa. Not once did they come close to winning a test match. They have been on the receiving end all the time, and that's not a good performance. See, in sport, you lose, you win. That's part and parcel of sport. I've always believed as a captain, you will lose some, but you have to make sure you win some, especially overseas. But right. Not once has India looked in absolutely control of winning a test match. So I think that's where the problem lies, and I think Dhoni has got to make some adjustments in this team if he has to be successful. Most importantly, in the spin department, I still don't understand why Umesh Yadav cannot fit into this test team, right, being the fastest bowler in the squad. So there are a few questions to be answered, especially in the spin department.
And it's not just the fact that India have really not dominated in these last 14 tests. It's also the fact that they've let go of so many chances from a strong position to come to a weak position, like we saw in this Wellington test as well. I'm going to slip into a very short break, but we'll also take the pertinent question with our experts that Dhoni's performance, even as a batsman in test cricket, is not very deserving of a spot. And when others can be sacrificed for low performances, then why not Dhoni? Join us back after a short break. Dhoni, Duncan, Dawes, is it time up for them? Boria and Saurabh with me on the show. Boria, let me start with you very, very quickly. When Kapil Dev can be sacked, you know, a year after winning the World Cup for losing one series in West Indies, why not Dhoni after 3 years? Is it because he's untouchable that nobody in Indian cricket will touch him?
You know, Saurav has answered that question rather well, saying that the World Cup is coming. But frankly, I was listening to that press conference clip. He says we've done well. 680 for 8. Even if I give Watling and McCullum 2 freakish innings, James Neesham at number 8 scores 140 not out. You've done well. My definition or understanding of well and Mahendra Singh Dhoni's are profoundly different. The question I want to ask, Saurav, I know you're running short of time. Very pertinent, straightforward question. Dhoni, he's answered. Does he see Duncan Fletcher and Joe Dawes travelling to England? Or rather, let's put it in a different way. Does he want to see Duncan Fletcher and Joe Dawes as India's coach and bowling coach in that tour of England? I want a really straight answer because Saurav's voice counts in Indian cricket.
Right, Dada, please answer that. And also a quick question from me. You've categorically said that when players like Zahir Khan, Harbhajan, Yuvraj, Sehwag, everybody can be made to pay for their low performances, then why not Dhoni?
See, there is no answer to this question, Shivani, because everything in sport, or every selection in sport can never be compared or measured on the same scale. I can give you my instance. In 2005, when I was left out of the one-day side, a player called Tejinder Pal Singh was considered as my substitute to play one-day cricket, and during that period I had the fastest 9,000 runs to one-day cricket,
yes.
Fastest by any player in the world, even faster than Sachin Tendulkar. So sometimes there are no answers to certain questions. I think Dhoni has to improve his one-day record. I beg your pardon, his test record as a captain overseas. It's appalling, as we have said, and it's just going bad to worse, and you got 2 more tough toes coming. The answer to Boria's question in terms of Duncan Fletcher and Joe Dawes, any other country, he wouldn't have survived. But the practical thing, he asked me whether I see them going to England and Australia. The question is yes, I see them going to England and Australia and to the World Cup. I don't see any changes happening before the World Cup, and that's the way it is, whether we like it, whether we don't like it. You see Andy Flower gone after a 5-0 Ashes defeat. But I think certain countries are different. And I see Duncan Fletcher and Joe Dawes going to the tour of England and Australia.
What I don't understand is when Dhoni became captain out of nowhere, even he didn't have any experience. So why can't we have, let's say, a young Virat Kohli take over the reins? Every new captain is inexperienced. Do we really have to stick with Mahendra Singh Dhoni? And has it done us any good? Has it done Indian cricket any good to stick with him since those whitewashes in England and Australia? I'm afraid there are no answers to some of the questions, as Saurav Ganguly said. We'll thank Saurav and Boria for joining us on this discussion. I'm sorry, Dada, I'm running out of time, but we'll keep taking your opinion on this major issue in Indian cricket. Thanks a lot for joining us today, and thanks to our viewers for watching our special presentation. Goodbye.